Up next in the broadcast, police confirm that DNA testing shows that a month-old corpse belongs to the fugitive owner of the Sewol-ho ferry, which sank and killed over 300 people back in April. The United Nations Security Council unanimously condemns last week's crash of Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, asking for unrestricted access to the disaster site for international investigators and a ceasefire to the fighting in the region. The Korea Tourism Organization unveils its new slogan, Imagine Your Korea, to embody the vitality and energy of the country as a top travel destination. Primetime News begins now. Welcome to Primetime News, live from Seoul. I'm Sean Lim.
And I'm Kang Chiri. Thanks for joining us tonight. We begin with what may be the end to a long and, until now, a very fruitless search for the owner of the Sewol-ho ferry. Police say a body found last month is that of the fugitive billionaire Yoo Byung-eun.
But the tardy revelation of the badly decomposed body, which was discovered well over a month ago, is creating more questions than answers. Our Chae Yu-sun reports.
The practical owner of the Sewol-ho ferry that sank in April, killing more than 300 passengers, has been found dead.
On the evening of July 21st, the National Police Agency informed us that the DNA from a body found in Suncheon matched to that of Yoo Byung-eun's.
Authorities also confirmed that a fingerprint taken from the body found in a field in Korea's southwestern city of Suncheon on June 12th also matched to that of the 73-year-old. Shortly after the sinking of the Sewol-ho ferry on April 16th, a massive manhunt was launched for Yoo and his family members on possible charges of embezzlement and criminal negligence. Yoo is the former head of Sewol Group, which is the predecessor of the Sewol-ho ferry operator. Authorities, meanwhile, still don't know when or how Yoo died, but they found bottles of alcohol, a health product made by a company linked to his religious group, and parts of his book near his badly decomposed body. Although it took nearly 40 days to confirm Yoo's identity, the prosecution and police now face public criticism for wasting more than a month searching for a dead man. Unaware of Yoo's whereabouts, prosecutors renewed a 6-month arrest warrant for Yoo earlier this week. With news of the ferry owner's death, attention now shifts to the prosecution's investigation into finding the Yoo family at fault for the ferry accident and providing compensation for the victims. Authorities are still hunting for Yoo Byung-eun's eldest son, Tae-gyun, who has a $98,000 bounty on him. Chae Yu-sun, Arirang News.
Well, the hunt for the billionaire ferry owner spanned well over 2 months, and though authorities had some promising leads at points in the process, they weren't fast enough.
Our Connie Kim takes us through the timeline of the hunt for Yoo Byung-eun.
5 days after the Sewol-ho ferry sinks in waters southwest of Korea, the prosecution launches a special investigation into the Yoo family, which owns Cheonghae-jin Marine Company, the operator of the ferry. After 73-year-old Yoo Byung-eun fails to appear in court for questioning on May 16th, the prosecution requests an arrest warrant on charges of embezzlement, tax evasion, and raising illegal offshore funds. On May 21st, authorities enter a religious compound where Yoo Byung-eun is believed to be hiding. However, police exit the 230,000 square meter compound empty-handed. 1 day later, the police put up a 50 million won reward, or about $50,000, for information that leads to the capture of Yoo. The bounty is later raised to nearly $500,000. On May 25th, police raid Yoo's villa, where officials find traces of the ferry owner having stayed there. Police seem to be moving closer to tracking down the ferry owner in the following days. They find a car presumed to belong to Yoo Byung-eun in Jeollabuk-do province. Early the next month, the business tycoon reportedly asked for asylum in France and the Philippines, but the prosecution says the requests were rejected. On Monday of this week, the prosecution once again issues an arrest warrant for the fugitive owner of the sunken Sewol-ho. He's evaded arrest for nearly 2 months at this point. Then one day later on Tuesday, it's confirmed that a body found in a plum field in Korea's southwestern city of Suncheon last month is Yoo Byung-eun. More than 1 million police officers were involved in the manhunt for the billionaire owner of the Sewol-ho ferry, but in the end, they come up empty-handed. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
So, as we said earlier, still a lot of questions surrounding this case, and for more, Connie Lee is joining us in the studio. So, could it really be him?
Right, Chetty. Well, that's the question that many people in Korea are asking themselves today. First, because of the timing of this announcement, given that the body was found well over a month ago. In fact, today, the National Police Agency did admit to mishandling the case. In particular, they mentioned failing to immediately connect the body found in June to Yoo Byung-eun, and how and where he was found and what he was wearing, and all the items found could have been clues to who he was.
Right, and among the items was a book that he wrote himself, and so that's a very, it seems very odd. If you're running away from authorities, you're carrying your own book, but and it does seem to indicate that perhaps that clue, along with the others, could have been more revealing earlier on.
Right, you're exactly right, Sean. Well, his body was found in the city of Suncheon, which is about 4 hours south of Seoul, and also the place where he was apparently last seen alive. The place was actually where police was heavily searching, and the fact that the body was found wearing a very high-priced Italian jacket could have helped. Now here's a mock-up graphic of how he was found. Well, Yoo's body was apparently found lying on his back with a hat on, but without his shoes on. Now a cloth throw bag was also found at his side with the phrase "Love Like a Dream," which is actually the title of his book that he wrote. Now that was etched in the cloth bag. Now what's inside the bag is interesting. Authorities say that they found alcohol bottles. Now Yoo was said not to be a drinker, but there were alcohol bottles found near his body. Could it be his? We don't know yet. And his body was such in a bad shape that it was very hard to identify him.
But how fast does a body decompose? I mean, he was last seen alive in May, and when his body was found in June, his body is so decomposed that they don't even recognize him.
So I talked to a forensic expert on that point, and he said that because the body was outdoors in the field, it was badly damaged. And because it was so decomposed and damaged, the DNA testing took longer. Let's take a listen.
DNA testing is a technique, so it doesn't take long. However, the amount of time it takes is determined by the state of the body. If it was a fresh body, then DNA test results come out right away. But in the case with Yoo Byung-eun, his body was badly decomposed, so officials had to get DNA from his bones. And getting results from that is more difficult. His body was badly damaged because it was outdoors. It not only decomposed, but it was probably affected by flies and other insects. This probably had more of an effect on the body than just the decomposition.
All right. And for now, suicide is suspected, but it could be other scenarios. You never know.
Right. Well, police have said foul play doesn't look like it was foul play, but because they don't know what exactly caused his death, they can't say any conclusions yet. The officials said that they can't focus too much on the manner of death until they find out what caused the death, and that's exactly what investigators are now doing.
Okay, well, thank you, Connie. It seems like we are at the end of this chapter in this latest saga.
You're right.
Your gateway to the day's biggest stories in Korea and around the world. Breaking news, the hottest interviews, and a whole lot more. Join Arirang Sean Lim and Kang Chae-ri from the heart of Seoul.
News begins now.
Primetime news, weeknights, live at 10 on Arirang TV.
Breaking this Tuesday evening, a train crash in Korea's Gangwon-do province has killed at least one person and injured some 80 others early this evening. This is according to Yonhap news agency Korail. The country's railroad operator says a train of passengers collided with an idle train between Taebaek Station and Mungok Station on Tuesday. A total of 103 passengers were involved in this train crash. The exact cause of the collision is still under investigation. With Korea and Japan relations at their relatively low points in recent months, President Park Geun-hye has tapped a former four-term lawmaker with close ties to Japan as our new ambassador to Tokyo. A government official in Seoul said Tuesday that Yoo Byung-eun, head of the Korea-Japan Friendship Association, was selected for his wide network of personal relationships with Japanese officials. The 76-year-old former lawmaker served as chief of the National Police Agency and governor of Chungcheongnam-do province. He also led an association of Korean and Japanese lawmakers from the year 2000 for 4 years. His appointment will need formal approval from Tokyo.
Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan has wasted no time meeting with his biggest stakeholders since taking office last week. After talks with the BOK governor yesterday, on Tuesday he met with key business leaders and he heard their concerns over his idea to tax their idle cash reserves. But as our Sung Ji-sun reports, the finance minister held fast to his idea that the conglomerates need to do more to get the economy moving again.
The combined cash reserves of Korea's 10 largest conglomerates have doubled in just 5 years to $515 billion. That's 40% more than the government's budget for the whole of this year. Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan believes businesses must use these huge sums of money to reinvest, increase dividend payouts, and boost salaries in order to revitalize the economy.
We plan to devise measures so that corporate income can flow into households through investment, dividends, or salaries.
The dividend rate, the amount per share an investor receives when the dividend is paid, is lower in Korea than it is in any other emerging market. This means investors are getting lower returns as local companies stockpile their earnings. The minister has been pushing to tax companies that cling onto huge reserves. But businesses say the finance minister's plans would be akin to double taxation, stressing they plan to utilize reserves in the future.
Companies think it's unfair to be taxed again after paying corporate taxes. The reserves and various assets like properties and other non-cash forms are often used for investment down the road.
In their first meeting with the new finance minister on Tuesday, business leaders called for a more careful approach as there could be a number of unwanted side effects to the plans. They also called on Choi to push through reforms on deregulation. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Subscribers of the wildly popular mobile messaging service KakaoTalk will now be able to send cash along with texts and emoticons starting as early as this fall. The daily limit will be about $100. Kim Min-ji reports on how this app plans to change the mobile banking landscape.
Boasting more than 30 million subscribers in Korea, KakaoTalk is aiming to keep user numbers up by entering the banking business. It plans to expand its services to allow for money transfers as soon as this September. Users will first have to download an application called Bank Wallet Kakao. After going through a verification process, the user will be required to register their bank account details and set a password. After creating a virtual account and linking it to an actual banking account, people will be able to use these accounts with around $500 of balance and transfer up to $97 each day. The company has joined up with more than a dozen commercial banks and the Korea Financial Telecommunications and Clearings Institute to offer the service. Korea's financial regulator is currently looking into the companies to see if they meet security standards. It comes amid concerns of possible breaches from the hacking of passwords and personal data to the theft of authentication certificates.
The transactions are regulated by participating banks or financial institutions. Kakao just offers a platform and sends messages to users when a transaction is made. It does not interfere with financial data. We have also analyzed potential attacks by hackers and have blocked it in advance.
This is joining the global trend set by major players such as Facebook and Amazon. Now it remains to be seen whether KakaoTalk banking will garner enough success to change the banking landscape in Korea. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Korea has a new slogan to sum up what it would be like to spend your holiday here. It's Imagine Your Korea, and the faces attached to the phrase come from the K-pop sensation Big Bang. Our Park Ji-won tells us more.
Imagine Your Korea. This is the new brand slogan of Korean tourism. The Culture Ministry and Korea Tourism Organization launched a new slogan on Tuesday after months of public surveys and consultations with experts. The typeface of the Imagine Your Korea slogan embodies vitality and energy, while the colors within the design are ones found in traditional Korean hanbok clothing. The new promotional video for the slogan features the popular K-pop group Big Bang, who are honorary ambassadors for Korean tourism. From traditional Korean dishes and trendy shopping districts to creative cultural products like K-pop performances, the new promotional video shows off all that Korea has to offer as a travel destination. The number of foreign tourists visiting Korea surpassed the 10 million mark for the first time in 2012. And the Korea Tourism Organization hopes to see that figure double by the year 2020, thanks to continued efforts to promote the country to the world.
Imagine Your Korea!
Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Now, moving on to some potentially good news for city workers here in Seoul. Those tired from overnight work or for female employees from pregnancy will be allowed to take a nap for 1 hour during work hours starting next month. Seoul City has announced its plans following Seoul Mayor Park Won-soon's request to come up with ways to increase work efficiency during summer months.
Right, so it certainly seems in line with some of this push for more flexible workplaces,
Sure.
but it's not clear whether public workers will actually take the time off to snooze, since they do have to make up for the lost hour of work either before or after their regular work hours by staying late or doing overtime.
And even apart from that, though, I don't think people, Koreans, will actually have the guts to utilize this system and go up to their boss and, hey, say, I want to take a nap.
Right.
I don't think the Korean culture allows that.
Although in a lot of tech companies I know, and also a lot of other Korean companies, they do have facilities already for napping, but yeah, it does seem legitimate if you really had to nap in order for efficiency, but I wonder how much of it comes from food coma after a really big lunch of
Sure.
just like, you know, high fats and carbs and maybe hangovers.
And this is the Seoul City government, so basically using public funds.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you on that. And we're just going to have to see how it goes starting next month. All right, so we'll be right back with more. The UN Security Council has unanimously backed a resolution condemning last week's downing of a Malaysia Airlines plane in eastern Ukraine that killed all 298 people on board.
With more on the air disaster, we now turn to Paul Yee at the News Center. Paul, what are the other conditions of this resolution?
Well, most of the measures are aimed at addressing the outrage expressed by world leaders over the botched handling of the MH17 crash site. This means guaranteeing safe and unconditional access for international investigators. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has vowed to use his influence to ensure that pro-Moscow rebels cooperate with the mandate. Son Jung-in has the details.
The UN Security Council resolution over the downing of MH17 calls for international investigators to have unrestricted access to the crash site and demands a ceasefire between Ukrainian forces and pro-Russian rebels to ensure a safe inspection in the area. Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop, who drafted the resolution, addressed the Council, condemning the grotesque violations at the site.
It demands that safe, secure, full and unrestricted access to the crash site be provided so the investigating authorities can carry out their work. Mr. President, the message from this Council to those who were responsible for this atrocity is definitive. You will be held to account for your actions.
Amid mounting pressure from Western nations over its possible involvement in the downing of the passenger jet, Russia also voted in favor of the resolution. The vote came as a train carrying the remains of the majority of the victims left the crash site to the Ukrainian city of Kharkov. From there, a Dutch aircraft is set to fly the bodies to the Netherlands, where the largest number of victims came from, to begin the forensic identification process. The separatists also handed over the 2 black box flight recorders from the aircraft to Malaysian authorities, who said the recorders were in good condition. They hope the devices will help detail what exactly happened at the moment Flight 17 was shut down. Son Jang-in, Arirang News.
And turning now to Indonesia, where the Election Commission has declared Jakarta Governor Joko Widodo the winner of the presidential race with over 53% of the vote, according to local media. The final tally on Tuesday comes after the world's third largest democracy was thrust into political turmoil earlier this month when both candidates declared victory. Just hours before the official results were released, rival candidate Prabowo Subianto announced his withdrawal from the election process.
We are the presidential and vice presidential candidates Prabowo Subianto and Hatta Rajasa. As the bearer of the mandate of the people, according to the regulations, we will use our constitutional rights. We are rejecting the implementation of the presidential election.
The camp of former Army General Prabowo has vowed to challenge the results, accusing his opponent of massive voter fraud. Hundreds of thousands of police and military have been placed on high alert over fears of violent clashes following the announcement. And finally, Forbes magazine has released their list of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, and Iron Man star Robert Downey Jr. has come out on top yet again. The 49-year-old star of Marvel's superhero franchise made an estimated $75 million, making him the highest earning actor for the second straight year. Forbes described Downey Jr. as an indisposable asset for Disney, which owns Marvel Studios, as he's set to reprise his role in some of the highest earning films such as The Avengers. Former wrestler Dwayne Johnson jumped from 5th to 2nd place with earnings of $52 million, followed by Hangover star Bradley Cooper with $46 million. And that wraps up our look at international stories making headlines around the world. I'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Hello and welcome. Let's get to sports, starting with golf. And the race to Rio is on as the first 2016 Olympics golf rankings are out. They'll determine the players that'll get to represent their country at the Games in Rio. Topping the initial list are Australia's Adam Scott for the men and America's Stacey Lewis for the women. Now 60 men and 60 women will make up the field, with the max of 4 representing each country for each gender. And those ranked in the top 15 will be automatically eligible, with the remainder being filled by a clip of 2 golfers per country. Now golf makes its return after 112 years at the Rio Games, which opens on August 5th, 2016. And heading to the majors, Los Angeles Dodgers' Ryu Hyun-jin notched his 11th win of the season in his first game back from the All-Star break. He was sharp in 7 innings against the Pittsburgh Pirates, giving up 5 hits for 2 runs to go with 5 strikeouts in the 5-2 victory. Ryu now joins Clayton Kershaw and Zach Greinke to make the Dodgers the first team this year to have 3 11-game winners in their rotation. And we come back here to the nation to get to Tuesday's top KBO matchup. The Samsung Lions took on the Lotte Giants in Busan. Now we go to the first inning. All Samsung 1-run scores before Park Seok-min hits a 2-run shot to left field. Then we go to the second inning. Lotte answers back. Hwang Jae-gyun brings him in as home. Yong Duk-han follows. It's 3-2. Now 5th inning, Samsung's Park Seok-min doubles up. It's another 2-run homer to put his team up by 3. Rick Vandenherk goes a solid 6.1 innings, and Samsung wins this one 5-3. And looking at the other games, Kia beats Lotte, or rather beats LG 5-3. NC's leading Hanwha 9-8 in the 8th inning. Meanwhile, SK and Doosan had their game rained out after 2 innings. And we move on. It was day 4 of the Ansan Uricard Pro Volleyball Cup, and 3 matches took place on this Tuesday, starting with the men. Now, Kim Yo-han led the LIG Graders to their second win, beating out KEPCO 3-1, and now they're headed to the playoffs. For the ladies, Hunguk Life took down KGC in straight sets for their first win. Meanwhile, in the doubleheader, OK Savings Bank and Korean Air went heads up. It goes the distance, but Korean Air holds off to win it 3-2. And that wraps it up for now. This has been Stephen Che. I'll be back here later for more from the world of sports.
Hello and welcome. I'm Kim Bo-kyung with the latest weather update. We begin tonight with a mixed bag of conditions. A heavy rainfall warning has been issued for Gyeonggi-do province, which is receiving heavy downpours at this hour. Also, a heat wave warning remains in effect for some regions down south. Today, the central regions are under the influence of a monsoonal front, which is moving down south from the north, leading to downpours. Seoul and Gyeonggi-do province is forecast to get 30 to 80 millimeters, but some areas could get over 150. Tomorrow, the central regions will continue to deal with monsoon rain, while areas down south will experience sweltering hot conditions. Also, from Friday through Sunday, the nation could be indirectly affected by the 10th typhoon Matmo, so more wet conditions are expected nationwide. On to Wednesday's readings. Rainy Seoul hits 27, while Daegu and Gwangju jump to 33. On to other places. Jeju peaks at 30, while Dokdo and Mount Kumgang make it to 26 and 31. That's all for now, but I'll be back with more updates after midnight. See you then.
And that's all for Primetime News. Thanks for watching. I'm Sean Lim.
And I'm Kang Chae-ri. Enjoy the rest of your evening. See you again soon.